Councillor Janet Goodwin.
Please be seated. Prior to the commencing of the business on the agenda for this meeting, I would like to welcome Zakia Kamal from the Pakistani community, who is going to provide a moment of reflection for us. Thank you, Zakia.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, and thank you for dear councillors. My name is Zakia, and years ago, 12 years ago, I moved here from London to Grimsby. At first, it was very difficult to adjust here. As you know all, London is a busy, noisy, and full of life city, but Grimsby is different. But over the time, I found something very special here, like strong values, English culture, and kindness. This inspired me to a lot. During COVID pandemic, many people felt depression and struggle with mental health. And we decided to help, and we reached out to people to support them. For this, we organized Open Iftar event with our community help. There were no barriers. Anyone could come, talk, connect, and feel welcome. My aim is still the same today, to help a strong and caring community where everyone feels they belong. Our organization, which dedicate to promoting diversity, inclusion, cohesion, and a stronger relationship between different faith and community across Northeast Lincolnshire. For last 5 years, we are organizing a community event called Open Iftar. Open Iftar focused on bringing people together from different faith, community, and diverse group, and culture and religion. The purpose of this event to build bridges, to create understanding, respect, unity among the community who may not always have the opportunity to connect with one another. We believe that peaceful and strong society is only built on mutual respect and communication. Our event created a welcoming space where people could meet and greet, share their tradition, and learn from each other. It was truly inspiring to see individuals and family coming together, breaking down barriers, forming new connections. Events like this, not just a social gathering, they are an important step toward reducing division, tackling misunderstanding, more misconceptions, and strengthening community cohesion into town or city. In Northeast Lincolnshire, we are strong and productive when we are come together. We are proud of this positive response we have received from about 26 nationality, 6 faith and diverse group, and we are committed to continuing this work. However, to reach more people, to make bigger impact, we would welcome the support and partnership of council and the local councillors in future as well. And I would like to thank the Madam Mayor for continued support to committee your efforts to reach people at the grassroots level and supporting the charity organization at their doorstep. We also thank you, the Mayor, that giving me the chance, such a wonderful session. It is truly pleasure and privilege to be here. And last, this kind of leadership build trust, helps make sure no one is left behind. And thank you very much for listening me. And thank you very much your dedication to serving the people of Northeast Lincolnshire.
Thank you, Zakia. And I would like to recommend anybody who gets the chance to go to the breaking of the fast. Everybody is welcome, of all faiths. Thank you. Thank you, Zakia.
Thank you very much.
For Bruce then.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for indulging me. I'd just like to put on record that I'm not very happy that you've decided to remove Christian prayers and invite somebody from the Pakistani community to come and preach to us today about equality and diversity. I think that it's absolutely wrong, and that as Mayor you should be upholding Christian values.
For your note that you didn't like my prayers. I said from the beginning, as Mayor, I was making changes. And one of the changes was I was having reflection of the day instead of prayers. It may go back to normal in the next administration year, but this was for my year. Thank you. Item 1. Good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of North East Lincolnshire Council. A reminder that the meeting is being broadcast live. Members will need to use their microphones at all times when they are in public session, including when voting as part of any recorded vote. We have a lot of business tonight to get through this evening, and I would like to remind members of changes made to standing orders, including that meetings will be subject to final guillotine at 11:30. I hope we can assure that all business on the agenda for this evening's meeting can be dealt with properly and efficiently within that timescale, and that in the spirit, may I take the opportunity to remind members to be respectful to one another at all times. Item 2, apologies for absence. Are there any apologies for absence this meeting?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Apologies for absence have been received by Councillors Aisthorpe, Boyd, Brooks, Haggis, Jervis, Henderson, Humphrey and Kasmarek.
Item 3, minutes. I now move the minutes of the meeting of North East Lincolnshire Council held on the 11th of December, the 19th of February 2026, the special meeting of North East Lincolnshire held on the 11th of March 2026. Do I have a seconder?
I rise to second those minutes, Madam Mayor.
All those in favour? Thank you. Item 4, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from members on any item on the agenda of this meeting? Item 5, question time. Thank you. The council has received 4 questions from the members of the public on this evening's meeting. Please, can I remind the member of the public to present the questions as submitted. The first question has been received from Mr. Lee Samut, who is in attendance this evening. Welcome, Mr. Samut. And would you like to put your question? He's not here, is he? I'm sorry, Mr. Samut is not here tonight. So I will put the question. The question is as follows. Along with other North and Central Promenade traders, had a meeting with Councillor Dawkins last year regarding the excessive number of events held over an excessive amount of time on the south side of Cleethorpes. The traders stay open all through the winter, losing money in hope of a good spring and a summer season. However, when the season comes around, these events organised by a third party and authorised by the council take our customers away to the other side of Cleethorpes. This issue was promised to be looked at by Councillor Dawkins for this coming season. However, we are now here that Easter, a 3-week event, will be held yet again. Can you please reassure the local traders and myself that this will be stopped as promised and the future events will be kept to a minimum in the spring and summer season? Councillor Dawkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Based on concerns raised around markets during peak season last year, I requested that officers undertake a review of markets within the resort. Officers commissioned an independent organisation to support this review that included surveys with visitors, local businesses and residents, as well as the economic impact assessment. The findings were balanced with support for events and markets taking place to attract people and make the resort vibrant. However, concerns were noted from local businesses around peak season. On this basis, we are taking a balanced approach to event and market bookings, and I can assure you there is no 3-week events at Easter or during the year. And that was important because last year, as the business concerned, did raise that concern that there was around Easter, 3 weeks was too long, and I completely agreed. We're working with event and market organisers to ensure that bank holidays are avoided in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dawkins. I will arrange for a written confirmation of the answer to be sent to Mr. Summit. The next question has been received from Colin Nichols, who is unable to attend this evening. I will read out the question on his behalf. The question is as follows. Can Councillor Dawkins please explain why he recommended and encouraged the Cabinet to support and agree the findings of the needs assessment set out in Appendix 1 of the Libraries and Archives Review Phase 1 report when the report contained multiple errors, omissions, unjustified claims of trends and was simply an excellent example of how not to use data responsibly for the information of decision making. Referring to my document titled Observations of a Library User on the Libraries and Archives Review Phase 1 Cabinet Report, emailed to Councillor Dawkins by Nick Browning, can Councillor Dawkins please ensure that my document is made available for public viewing by posting it on the council website and or other suitable means of circulation? Councillor Dawkins, as portfolio holder for Culture and Heritage and the visitor economy, please will you respond?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll answer the question in 2 parts, but obviously because that was probably a 2-part question as well. The Libraries and Archive Review Phase 1 Cabinet Report from December 24 reported the findings from Phase 1 of the public consultation, a needs assessment and draft proposals for future library and archive service development. These proposals were at an early stage and subject to a second phase of public consultation during 2025 before any decision on future service delivery were taken. I understand that you presented feedback regarding the needs assessment in June 2025 that officers have recorded within the second stage of public consultation. The Council welcomes feedback throughout any decision-making process, and officers are committed to make every effort to improve their approach to reports and services. It is worth noting that the findings from Phase 2 of public consultations were reported in October 2025, where it was confirmed that both Waltham and Cleethorpes Library would remain open in the existing form and locations. Furthermore, it was also agreed in principle that Grimsby Central Library be reopened subject to confirmation of the options and costs for refurbishment. The next steps for our library service will be reported further once Cabinet has considered the recommendations from scrutiny that have been brought forward through the work of the cross-party Library Services Select Committee. And in relation to the second part of the question, as I have said, we welcome feedback and thank you for sharing your observations. These observations have been logged as part of the Phase 2 public consultation, along with the other 1,442 responses received as part of this process. The Council published reports relating to public consultation on its website under engagement, consultation and involvement. However, we do not publish individual responses or submissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dawkins. I will arrange for a written confirmation of the answers to Mr Nichols' questions to be sent to him. The next question has been received from Mr Brian Dicker, who was unable to attend this meeting. I will read out the question on his behalf. It is not often that public witness cross-party cooperation without an argument, but Great Grimsby Sleep Out, an annual event organised by Harbour Place, as such a much valued and reputable charity, is one of these times. I understand that the Community Scrutiny Panel recently received an update reporting citing relationships breakdown as leading cause of homelessness. It is evident, and nationally as well as locally, that the system is not perfect given the housing shortage and the number of empty properties requiring repair. There is, however, a group where homelessness is an ongoing issue. These with mental health issues and substance misuse, both legal and illegal. You need only to walk along Victoria Street to see the people setting up camp in shop doorways with cans of beer next to them. Anyone who has worked in mental health will recognise the problem and will understand that without support, these individuals are unable to maintain a home and in fact find difficult to obtain short-term help due to the issues that arise from the inability to refrain from their current lifestyle. Unfortunately, individuals in our community are spreading inaccurate information, claiming that organisations, including charities, are doing nothing. What support is offered by this council to support individuals on the points I have raised and to stand a chance of maintaining a home? Councillor Shreve, as portfolio holder for health and wellbeing, adult social care, please will you respond?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr Dicker, for the question. I have a very comprehensive reply, which will be forwarded to you, but in the interest of transparency, I'll read the highlights from this reply, if I may. The Council works closely with and provides funding to several organisations in the area to ensure a joined up approach to assessing accommodation and support for homeless households. Funding provided to Harbour Place to provide outreach and related support for rough sleepers in North East Lincolnshire helps those most vulnerable across life-saving services. Support provided by North East Lincolnshire Council's Rough Sleeper Coordinator works to ensure that services are joined up and assisting the most vulnerable rough sleepers. This includes regular, holistic and supportive early morning and late night street outreach across the borough with other partners, including Humberside Police, visiting rough sleeper hotspots and investigating street link reports from members of the public. Partnership working across the council, social care services, substance use services and physical and mental health services Includes a number of adult social workers from Focus working along the council's homelessness prevention service to provide assistance. Supported accommodation in Swan's House. This was set up to accommodate those furthest from independence who've slept on the street, providing daily support commissioned by Humber Care. North East Lincolnshire Recovery Partnership supports people who are homeless or at risk of homelessness through close joint working with rough sleeper and homelessness teams. We also provide support to people who are homeless or at risk of homeless through our housing related support network. Housing related support is currently delivered by 6 local providers of accommodation and housing support. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Shreve. Mr Dickler's second question is, full council meetings of late prolonged by amendments with discussions including the use of irrelevant, dubious statistics and off-topic contributions. On such example was the call to request the government to give powers already held by local authorities. This misinformation has caused issues accumulating with business suffering criminal damage. The interventions from certain councillors would be more appropriate at scrutiny panels where can be more debated properly. Added frustrations include elected members arguing with the mayor as chair when, when they are reminded to talk on the process motion, incorrectly claiming they are denied their freedom of speech, yet later attempt to prevent freedom of speech to their opponents, further extending the meeting. It is common and inevitable in councils with no overall control that there is lengthy debate. This authority has 5 parties representing with different contributions to make. There are some light-hearted moments that are welcome, demonstrating to a degree of connection with the public who are asking themselves which member is Sir Humphrey. There is obviously a need for clearer guidelines to distinguish the relevant from the unnecessary contributions. If monthly meetings are not reinstated, how will the council ensure meetings remain focused, efficient to deliver for the residents? Councillor Jackson, Leader of the Council, will you please respond?
Yes, thank you, Mr Dicker, for the question, and thank you, Madam Mayor, for reading out what is a very complex and multifaceted question, and I will attempt to respond to it. North East Lincolnshire residents watching full council meetings must on occasions become frustrated, and I have to say this council does not always show itself in the best light. I think that frustration is also shared by many in this chamber too. The agenda and conduct of full council meetings is governed by standing orders. There will always be robust debate in this chamber, and that is healthy. However, elected members have a responsibility to act and behave reasonably and comply with standing orders. In my view, some members display a lack of self-awareness regarding their behaviour and the damage that could cause to public confidence in local democracy. I do not believe monthly full council meetings are the answer. They are unnecessary, with much of the council's business delegated to cabinet, portfolio holders, officers and committees such as the planning committee, and I don't believe they would contribute to better debate or behaviour in the chamber. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Thank you for your questions, Mr Dickler. I will arrange for written confirmation of your answers to your questions to be sent to you. Item 6, the Leader's Statement. Councillor Jackson, will you give your leader's statement, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, members. The central Grimsby skyline continues to radically change as the various regeneration projects progress and we revitalise our town centre. The redevelopment of the western end of Freshney Place continues apace. It is on budget and on schedule. Parkway Cinema and Starbucks are already signed up. As members know, we have been in discussions with a much loved restaurant chain to be part of the development. Queensbury, our professional advisors, have this morning confirmed that we have agreed a deal with Nando's to become one of the anchor tenants, and they will take one of the prime spots next to the cinema entrance in 2027. Madam Mayor, Abbey Walk car park has been demolished, as I'm sure all members have noticed, with plans drawn up for a surface level car park in its place. As promised, Madam Mayor, we were able to save one each of the 4 Harold Gosney reliefs during the demolition process. These are now in safe storage for future use. Madam Mayor, plans progress for a new transport hub off Osborne Street to bring together all the town centre bus stops. We are in discussion with the Greater Lincolnshire Mayoral Combined County Authority for grant funding to progress this project. The Horizon On-Side Youth Zone opened a few weeks ago and is already spectacularly popular with young people from across North East Lincolnshire. Membership is already over 2,500 with frequent queues at opening times. It is another great asset for the revitalised town centre, as well as being fantastic for our young people in North East Lincolnshire. Madam Mayor, building of the new housing on the brownfield Alexandra Dockside has also commenced, and I'm sure anybody who's visited Sainsbury's or the Fishing Heritage Centre recently will have noticed that. Madam Mayor, most Grimsby Town Centre projects, complete or ongoing, have only been made possible with substantial grant funding from the previous Conservative government via Future High Street Fund, the Towns Fund, or Levelling Up funds. On the same theme, Conservative Levelling Up Fund money is delivering 3 projects in Cleethorpes. Clear progress is being made on the reimagining of Pier Gardens. Contractors are now working on site at the new build on Sea Road, and the marketplace regeneration will commence on site in May. These projects will be game changers for the resort. Madam Mayor, the Department for Education has given approval for us to progress with the new special school for children with emotional and mental health needs on the site of the former high-rise flats. This is great news for local children and their families, and will also bring about regeneration within the East Marsh. We were also recently notified about £270,000 of government playground funding for North East Lincolnshire. Plans are being drawn up for how best to use this for the benefit of our children within the given grant parameters. The Pride in Place plan for Grimsby has been endorsed by the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government and recognised as best practice nationally. This provides us with £20 million over 10 years for projects to be steered by the community. Thanks go to Our Future and the Great Grimsby Board for the sterling work on this project. Madam Mayor, our Town of Culture application is rapidly gaining momentum. Local creatives, businesses, organisations, community community groups, residents, and Grimsby Town Football Club are all enthusiastically supporting our expression of interest. This is really galvanising the local community. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Turning now, Madam Mayor, to the Humber. The Humber Economic Strategy has been published and endorsed by the 4 local authorities around the Humber, as well as the mayoral combined authorities north and south of the river. It is a prospectus for maximising growth in clean energy, manufacturing and ports and logistics around the estuary and enjoys full private sector support. The Mayoral Humber Growth Board has also recently been established and will be a single voice championing the Humber Economic Strategy with government and overseeing its delivery. Madam Mayor, less positive is the government's recently published Northern Growth Plan. The Humber barely features, with no mention of the South Humber Bank, even in the context of clean energy. This is very disappointing, and a local response to government is being formulated. Madam Mayor, more bad news was the announcement from government that the investment will not now be made in the foreseeable future for the return of the through train from London King's Cross to Cleethorpes, despite massive local business and political pressure over many years and several false starts. It seems ironic that we have a nationalised rail infrastructure provider, Network Rail, and a nationalised train operator, LNER, who seem to be putting any and every obstacle in the way of us getting this much needed boost for North East Lincolnshire. But then we have a private sector open access operator, Arriva Grand Central, who are keen to operate a through service via Doncaster and Scunthorpe, but who are struggling to make any headway with their application. We need to keep the pressure on to get this service back. Finally, Madam Mayor, elected members and local residents are concerned and frustrated about the number of speculative housing development plans that are being submitted on greenfield sites around the suburban southern arc of North East Lincolnshire, where the infrastructure is inadequate. These applications are on the back of the government's unreasonable and undeliverable housing target of 622 homes per annum for North East Lincolnshire. At a full council meeting last year, it was unanimously agreed to write to government suggesting a more deliverable target of 400 homes per annum, 200 market homes and 200 social homes. Unfortunately, this was dismissed by government. Madam Mayor, we are starting to lose control of housing development in North East Lincolnshire and also losing vital green space, when our focus should be on development nearer the South Humber Bank employment zones and on urban brownfield sites. So, Madam Mayor, many positives in my statement this evening, but also areas of disappointment and frustration. But Madam Mayor, that's politics. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Item 7, the appointment of the head of paid services. To consider a report from the leader of the council seeking approval to appoint Sharon Root as Chief Executive for North East Lincolnshire Council. Leader, will you propose the recommendations in the report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. No doubt members have had an opportunity to read the report in front of council this evening, and they will see that it explains the process that we went through to select a a new chief executive via the appointments committee. There was a unanimous recommendation from the appointments committee that Sharon Root should be appointed as our substantive chief executive moving forward. And I therefore move the report and that recommendation. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to second the report and the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clough. Are there any speakers? All those in favour? Fine. Could Sharon come back? Item 8. Special agency decisions. Members of this council will be notified of any special urgency decisions taken by Cabinet, portfolio holders or officers. This was formally dealt with by the leader in the statement and details tabled to all members. However, with the leader's statement now being shortened, the council agreed that this would be subject of a separate agenda item. This does not mean that the decisions are open for re-examination. These decisions have already been made with the support of the appropriate chair of scrutiny. The purpose of the report is merely to inform council of the urgent decisions as set out in the report. Any speakers are therefore required to limit remarks to the use of special urgency. Leader, will you propose that the report to be noted?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to move that the report in front of the council on special urgency decisions be noted.
Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to second. Thank you.
Are there any speakers? All those in favour? Item 9. Questions on notice. 7 questions on notice have been submitted for this meeting, with the expectation that members will ask questions as given on notice without variation or addition. The asking of supplementary questions is limited to 1 minute only and must arise directly out of the original question or the reply. Councillor Bright, please would you put your question, which is to the portfolio holder for finance, resources and assets.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And the portfolio holder for finance, resources and assets give a summary of the financial plan for the Freshly Placed project. Thank you.
Councillor Harness, will you please reply?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor, and I thank Councillor Bright for the question. The Freshly Placed Review 2025 and the Business Plan 2026 recently distributed to all councillors is, in my opinion, a very positive report. I am sure Councillor Bright welcomes that report and also regeneration of our town centre with Freshly Placed at the heart of the transformation that is taking place. Freshly Placed is a strategic asset acquired to protect the town centre and enable long-term regeneration. It is important to remember that Freshly Placed is a major employer for a great number of our residents. Council purchased Freshly Placed with a swap of the future High Street funding in 2022, having to demonstrate to government that it would deliver the leisure scheme. The Freshly Placed Leisure Scheme and increased finances was narrowly approved at full council on the 11th of December 2024. Government grant funding from the previous Conservative government is now being utilised to regenerate Freshly Place. The financial plan is focused on both commercial performance and wider economic and social value. Financial plan is set out through a combination of the council's approved business plan for the asset, the capital programme and the MTFP, all of which have been approved through Cabinet Subcommittee and full council. In line with business plan forecasts, the asset is recalibrating to a substantial income base ahead of the Leisure Extension opening in 2027. The centre is managed to be financially sustainable, with income from rents, service charges and car parking meeting operational costs and contributing towards financing and maintenance without requiring subsidy from the council taxpayer, within budget and the MTFP. Performance and forecasts are reviewed annually through an agreed business plan. The leisure development is being funded through a combination of approved capital resources and external funding. The scheme is designed to diversify income, reduce long-term risk from retail use and strengthen the centre's resilience. The scheme is currently on track to deliver within an agreed financial plan. Overall, the financial plan supports a long-term sustainable future for Freshly Place, balancing affordability for the council with the need to invest in the town centre, protect jobs and generate wider economic benefit for NELC. Excluding the leisure development zone, the last 12 months have seen an occupancy rate of 96% and a rent collection of 99%. There are challenges due to some nationally driven insolvencies, but tenants continue to recommit to Freshly Place, and the leisure scheme is a key factor within the business plan for the renewal decisions. The diagnostic centre is operational and we welcome new community anchors, including the Top Town Market, NEL Carers Hub and the Temporary Library Hub. A grant has been secured for from the Heritage Lottery Fund to develop a full business case for a restoration of the historic elements of the former House of Fraser. And the council is in legals for a pre-let of most of the ground floor of that building. The Freshly Place car park works are largely completed, with further work planned for glazing and to address the issue of reinforced autoclave aerated concrete, or the dreaded RAC. A net operating income of £1.8 million was achieved in 2025, and the business plan has a financial target of £1.41 million of net operating income for 2026. The business plan itself sets out key strategic and financial objectives for the next 12 months, maximising the retention of occupiers, increasing occupancy and attracting new diverse lettings to complement the existing tenant mix, creating a more family-centric experience, increasing dwell time and footfall. So thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harness. Do you have a supplement?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Supplementary, sorry.
Yes. The projections presented to members in the business plan a year ago have proved to be substantially wide of the mark. This year's business plan once again gives an upbeat forecast for the coming year. Can the portfolio holder explain what has changed in the forecasting methodology, and can he assure members that the new set of projections prepared by the same advisors will be better than last year?
Thank Councillor Bright for that. I mean, obviously there's been one or two issues that have arisen in the last year. We've had some national insolvencies which have affected the market. We've had some rent revaluations which have reduced income, and we've had quite a number of issues like having to deal with the car park and some other issues associated with Freshly Place. Everybody will do their very level best to make sure everything comes in on target. So thank you very much, Councillor Bright.
Thank you, Councillor Harness. Councillor Sylvester, please would you put your question, which is to the portfolio holder for safer and stronger communities, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Does the portfolio holder agree with me that the Conservatives were elected to this council with a firm mandate to reduce antisocial behaviour, arson and criminal damage across North East Lincolnshire?
Councillor Shepherd, will you reply, please?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. And Mayor, congratulate you for being so bold in the multicultural approach you have to people addressing this chamber. Conservatives were elected on a very firm mandate from the general public on crime and disorder in this borough. The previous administration left crime and disorder in tatters with very little control of what was actually going on. We have managed to address this, as you will find out later on, and we now have a very firm grip on crime and disorder here in North East Lincolnshire. Something that the Conservatives are very proud of. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
So Sylvester, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. Can I ask the portfolio holder, are we seeing significant reductions in any key areas across the borough?
Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm talking about all crime, and I'm talking crime now from the period of April 24 through to December 25. They're the current figures that I have for all crime here in the borough. We have seen a reduction in arson and criminal damage of 5% in that time, a reduction in burglary of 5%, a reduction in public order offences by 10%, reduction in robbery by 8%, a reduction in violence against the person by 12%. There is one rise, and that is in vehicle offences. The taking of, the interfering with, the theft of and the theft from vehicles is on the increase, and that is something that we aim to address. Antisocial behaviour, Madam Mayor. Yep. There was a slight reduction in ASB when comparing it from February 25 to February 26 of 5.6%. Year to date, antisocial behaviour is also showing a reduction of 14.1% across the borough. Those are firm figures, Madam Mayor. That is working in partnership with police and other agencies to ensure that crime in this borough is reducing.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Cairns, would you please put your question, which is to the portfolio holder for safer and stronger communities?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Clear hold and build has been a success in the South Ward. How significant are the figures, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cairns. Councillor Shepherd, will you reply?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Clear Old Build was an initiative based in South Ward, Nunthorpe. In April 24 to December of 24, compared to April 25 to December 25. All crime reduced by 10.6%, with 77 fewer crimes in the ward. Antisocial behaviour between April 24 and December 24, compared to April 25 to December 25, all antisocial behaviour reduced by 18%, with 9 fewer incidents. Clear Hold is the development by Homicide Police, local policing teams and the organised crime group team. The build section is being developed and led by North East Lincolnshire Council. The head of Safer Towns and Communities heads this group. And the priorities that are listed are set out. Local elected members on the build board have the decision on these. Number one, the development of intelligence. Submission to Homicide Police through the Community Partnership Intelligence Form. A video has been commissioned to develop this for all partners to encourage greater intelligence submitted to the police. Number two, Nunthorpe in Bloom to develop in conjunction with Centre 4 and Nunnies Farm and CPO Media a model of working across 3 sites to develop community engagement and cohesion. This will involve the development of community-led board that will oversee all developments. Number 3, environmental enforcement, working with Frank Sparks re fly tipping and general waste on the estate, with support from the street cleaning team and environmental enforcement teams. Number 4, the development of an activity tracker so that the community are fully aware when and where events are being delivered. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Oh, Councillor Cairns, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, please. Thanks, Madam Mayor. In view of the success of the CHB initiative. Is there a plan to roll out operations like CHB across the borough? Thank you.
Councillor Shepherd.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. There is a drive to develop this further. The build section is being discussed to support Operation Mandela on the East Marsh. And as those successes grow through Clearhole Build, we will run this and spread this across the whole of the borough. Criminals in the borough need to be very afraid that this is coming, Madam Mayor, because of the successes we've had in South Ward. Thank you.
Councillor Cross, please would you put your question, which is to the portfolio holder for safer and stronger communities?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Shepherd.
Keep on going. Antisocial behaviour, use of motorcycles is clearly a problem in our borough, all over the borough. What actions are the police taking in regards to this motorcycle use? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Shepherd, please will you reply?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Operation Yellowfin is the police operation that supports the reduction of nuisance vehicles in our parks and open spaces. There are now 4 dedicated Operation Yellowfin officers working in Grimsby and Scunthorpe. They are aligned to the Rural Task Force policing team. The Yellowfin officers are directed by and dedicated police inspector who is responsible for the delivery of a strategy and a policy. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Cross, do you have a supplementary?
If I may, Madam Mayor, thank you very much. What actions are NLC taking on ASB and crime, especially in rural areas, my ward and around that, the Wolds, such like? Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cross. Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. North East Links Council are developing a borough-wide public space protection order, PSPO, to support homicide police. This is being developed in a monthly task group chaired by the Chief Inspector for Community Policing and represented by heads of community safety in both North and North East Lincolnshire. 97% of the public are in support of the public space protection order through consultation. This period is for 7 weeks, which closed last Monday. North East Links Council have successfully gained funding from the OPCC, that's the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner, to the value of £35,000 to support with signage and gating systems to inhibit vehicles accessing open space, especially in rural areas. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Parkinson, please would you put your question to the portfolio holder for safer and stronger communities?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. You've already mentioned Operation Yellowfin. What effect is Yellowfin having on nuisance vehicles in Cleethorpes?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Parkinson, for the question. Operation Yellowfin and Operation Snap are supporting the issues of nuisance vehicles in Cleethorpes. Operation Snap in the summer of 2025 issued 65 notices of intended prosecution to owners of vehicles that had committed road traffic violations. This is all forwarded by North East Lincolnshire Council CCTV and the Operation Snap system that is run by the police. These NIP warnings were followed up with fines, summons to court for offences ranging from vehicle defects to reckless driving. The NELC CCTV system now directly sends images and clips of offending vehicles to Operation Snap. The officers in Snap will develop financial sanctions on this evidence. January to date, we have sent over 105 images of offending vehicles with a high successful prosecution rate. And we have a rapid deployment camera fitted with an automated number plate recognition, ANPR, system on the North Promenade. There is a new camera again with ANPR that is being installed on the Boating Lake car park.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Parkinson, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor. What actions are the council taking in support of the police tackling crime and disorder in the Cleethorpes nighttime economy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Powers, for the question.
Point of order, Madam Mayor, that wasn't a supplementary. That had nothing to do with the first question.
I think you're right, Councillor Bright. Sorry, Councillor Parkinson, that question is null and void. It's null and void. It wasn't part of that your supplementary didn't correlate with what Councillor Shepherd has just said. Sorry, Councillor Parkinson. Councillor Parkinson, please will you put your next question, which is to the portfolio holder for culture, heritage and visitor economy. Councillor Parkinson, sorry, you've got another question. Right, we'll go on to the next question then. Councillor Lindley, will you put your question to the portfolio holder for culture, heritage and visitor economy?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Grimsby is in the process of applying to be Town of Culture 2028. Does the portfolio holder believe that Grimsby is a serious contender to win this accolade? And what would it mean to Grimsby and the rest of North East Lincolnshire?
Councillor Dawkins, will you please reply?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Lindley, for your question. I mean, the chance of winning, first of all, the competition is going to be fierce, as we anticipated, that hundreds of towns will apply. In recent days, Boston and Skegness have both entered the competition, along with many other towns across the UK. Applications for the competition will be judged in three main criteria: your story, the unique story of the town; culture for everybody, how the town will design a cultural programme for all; and making it happen, how the town will then deliver a successful programme. We will be submitting a compiling expression of interest which addresses these points and builds upon recent successes such as the opening of the Horizon Youth Zone, the Big Pictures refurbishment, Love Your Town and Culture House's own Future Starts Here. So the impacts: national acclaim and coverage, greater chance of securing further investment in arts, culture and heritage investment, along with other industries, provides the platform to develop new national and international partnerships, creates further opportunities for our creative and heritage sectors, developing the skills as well as other businesses buying into the title, complement the breadth of capital regeneration taking place across our towns, including preservation of our heritage. It will boost the reputation of North East Lincolnshire and the council as an emerging and effective place. It enhances health and well-being of North East Lincolnshire residents and a sense of pride in place by telling our story. Boosts visitor numbers, town centre footfall and trade, further enhancing attractive and vibrant town centres. So going back to the original question, I think we are a serious contender. Absolutely. We have so much going on for us in this area, which is untapped at the moment. And I've gone on record as saying we're going to win it. And I meant every word. And I'd like everybody in this chamber to support the application. Let's go and get behind the bid. And one extra thing that I believe will help us also is when I became portfolio back a couple of years ago, one of the things I noticed straight away was the Meridian Showground. It was not being used anything like as good as it should be. And after long chats with the team, I asked for the capacity at the Meridian Showground to be looked at. I found it a priority.
Councillor Dawkins, you're straying from the original question. Thank you.
It's with all due respect, Madam Mayor, it's all part of the offering for Town of Culture. And if I can just let me finish, and then I'll be out your way in less than a minute.
Thank you.
So it's okay. I found it as a priority, not only for the showground, but also for everyone around the area. It would attract bigger artists and events to the showground, with the knock-on effects to businesses, hotels would be massive. Now it's safe to say we've had our challenges and it's not been easy. However, I'm pleased to exclusively reveal tonight that this afternoon we received the necessary permission for the increase from 5,000 to 15,000 capacity, that I asked for, and I'd like to congratulate the whole team for making this happen, and I'm sure everyone here tonight will welcome the news. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Dawkins. Councillor Linley, do you have a supplementary?
No supplementary, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, councillor Dawkins. Right, item 10, appointments of the co-opted member to the Children and Lifelong Learning Scrutiny Panel to consider a report advising of the proposed appointment of a non-voting trade union representative as a co-opted member of the Children and Lifelong Learning Scrutiny Panel. Councillor Jackson, will you move the recommendations?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to move that Simon Jones, not our monitoring officer, Simon Jones be appointed as a non-voting trade union co-opted member of the Children and Lifelong Learning Scrutiny Panel with effect from the 26-27 municipal year. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do I have a seconder?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I rise to second and I appreciate the clarification in relation to Simon Jones.
Do I have any speakers? Yeah. 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 All those in favour? Item 11, dispensation. Section 85 of the Local Government Act 1972 to consider a report recommending the provision of special dispensation under the Section 85 of the Local Government Act. Councillor Jackson, will you move the recommendations?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to move the provision of special dispensation under Section 85 of the Local Government Act 1972 for Councillor Keith Brooks and for Councillor Marion Jervis for, in both cases, for health reasons. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to second. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shreve. Are there any speakers? Councillor Freeston.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm passing my best wishes to the two councillors mentioned. What I would like to say is I noticed that the council group leaders were updated on the reasons behind the dispensation, but as a sole reform councillor, I wasn't. So I think moving forward, if indeed we're in a position where one party is by themselves, I think it would be courteous for that person to ensure they were updated. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Freeston. Councillor Mickleborough.
Reiterating what you're saying, Madam Mayor, I think we all send our wishes to Councillor Marion Jervis and Councillor Keith Brooks. I'm sure it will help them in their recovery from their serious illnesses to know that we're keeping the seats open for them, and we look forward to seeing them back in this chamber, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Mickleborough. I will now take a vote on this matter. All those in favour? Item 13, notice of motion. A note. Oh. Trying to get home for MasterChef, the final. Sorry. Item 12, pay policy statement. To consider a report from the leader of the council presenting the pay policy statement for the period of 25-26. Councillor Jackson, will you move the recommendation?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not keeping abreast of MasterChef, so I'll make sure I spend plenty of time on this report. Madam Mayor, the Localism Act 2011 requires local authorities to prepare pay policy statements. These statements must set out an authority's policies towards a range of issues relating to the pay of its workforce, particularly its senior staff and its lowest paid employees. Pay policy statements must be prepared for each financial year and must be approved by full council and published. The policy also relates to the Code of Recommended Practice for local authorities on data transparency. The provision of the Act does not apply to schools. So, Madam Mayor, I recommend the pay policy statement for this council for the period 26-27 be approved as set out in this report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Jackson. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to second and reserve the right to speak if appropriate.
Thank you, councillor Shreve. Are there any speakers? Councillor Shreve, right to reply? Thank you. And now I will now take a vote on this matter. All those in favour? Item 13, notice of motion. A notice of motion has been submitted by Councillor Stuart Swinburne, seconded by Councillor Jackson, submitted in accordance with the council's constitution. Councillor Swinburne, you have 10 minutes in which to propose this motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's North East Lincolnshire at the moment, Madam Mayor, is not unique in the situation of pothole repairs. It is a national issue that all councils are experiencing. Before I go into the notice of motion, Madam Mayor, I'd just like to give you a bit of an insight into what we've been doing locally. For instance, we have the 2025-26 winter impact. The impact on the local road network during the winter of 2025-2026 has been significant increases in pothole repairs and increased focus from residents, members and the media on pothole defects. Madam Mayor, the primary cause of this is the freeze and thaw conditions that was experienced early January, followed by increased and prolonged rainfall amounts through to the end of February. A recent report from NELC's contracted winter service forecaster confirms the rainfall amounts locally throughout February are up by 200% above the 1991-2010 average. The following sections of this report, Madam Mayor, give a monthly summarise on the weather experience and carriageway pothole repairs raised, completed and customer reports received regarding carriageway pothole defects. It should be noted that the summary below relates to pothole defects recorded by our highway inspectors during the course of routine highway safety inspections. For instance, Madam Mayor, in December, overall December was a mild month with frost experienced on 7 nights throughout December. It was a wetter than average month with rainfall amounts of around 125% above the normal average for the month of December. Pothole repairs during December also saw a marked increase in either pothole repairs being raised for repair or being reported by the public. A total of 117 carriageway pothole repair orders were raised during the month of December, and 104 customer service reports regarding potholes were received. By comparison, Madam Mayor, the 3-year average for pothole repairs raised in December in the preceding years is 91, and the 3-year average for customer service reports was 61. We move forward to January, Madam Mayor, and the weather again was a much colder month. Overall, with moderate snowfall and frequent frost in the first week, resulting in 17 gritting treatments undertaken in January. In addition to the colder temperatures, rainfall was a defining feature too, with rainfall amounts around 135% above the average for the month. The repairs in January 26 were the impact on the road network. A total of 197 carriageway pothole repair orders were raised during the month, and 435 customer service reports regarding potholes were received. The 3-year average pothole repairs raised in January is 114 and the 3-year average for customer service reports regarding potholes is 111. In February, Madam Mayor, it was quite mild overall, with only 3 nights with frost. Rainfall was the defining feature for the month, with data indicating around 150 to 200% of the expected rainfall occurred in the area. February 2026 has seen the biggest increase in both pothole repairs raised and reported than any month in the last 4 years. A total of 229 carriageway pothole repair orders were raised during the month, and 629 customer service reports regarding potholes were received. The February average between 23 and 25 for pothole repairs is 119, and the average for the 3 years is customer service reports was only 78, so quite significant increase, Madam Mayor. In March, Madam Mayor, a summary of the weather in March will be provided later on. As of the 20th of March, a total of 126 pothole repairs has been raised and 311 customer reports regarding potholes have been received. The monthly average number of pothole repairs raised during the month of March is 109, and the average of number of customer reports is 110. Madam Mayor, taking on to all the statistics I've just read out there, it's obvious that we are trying to do the best that we can in this area. The highway authorities across the UK have faced significant challenges this winter as prolonged periods of wet and cold weather have accelerated the deterioration of road surfaces. Madam Mayor, persistent rainfall has allowed water to penetrate weakened carriageways, whilst repeated freeze and thaw cycles have caused rapid surface failure, leading to a marked increase in pothole formation. These conditions have affected both urban and rural networks, placing sustained pressure on already constrained highways, maintenance budgets and operational capacity. The scale and the pace of deterioration have made it increasingly difficult for council to move beyond reactive repairs, with resources diverted to short-term safety intervention rather than longer-term planned maintenance. At the same time, public expectations around road condition remain high, resulting in increased customer reports, reputational risk, and heightened scrutiny of highway authority repair and response times. Across the country, councils have been reviewing their policies, procedures and ways of working to improve the speed, effectiveness and resilience of pothole repairs. However, Madam Mayor, the challenges experienced this winter underline the wider national issue facing local highway authorities of road networks. And North East Lincolnshire, these national trends provide important context for the increase in actions being taken locally to manage the road conditions, with a 134% increase over January and February this year in weather-related reactive highway repairs compared to previous years. Madam Mayor, as I reported in my statement at the recent Budget Council meeting, a considerable amount of finance has been allocated for carriageway resurfacing and pothole repairs. One of my main concerns, Madam Mayor, is that I am sure is also... Sorry? Madam Mayor, as I reported in my statement there, one of my main concerns, and I'm sure is a concern to the community, is duplication of repairs. What I mean by that, Madam Mayor, is when going out to repair something but not doing the repair correctly first time and then having to go back to do it again. This has to be reviewed, Madam Mayor. To support our highways officers in maintaining the highway network, I have put forward this note of motion, which I would hope would have total cross-party support. The notice of motion, Madam Mayor, that North East Lincolnshire Council recognises the North East Lincolnshire road users are concerned about the number of potholes currently blighting our highways. Number 2, acknowledges that the growth in pothole numbers is a national phenomenon driven by adverse weather conditions over the past 3 months. Number 3, welcomes the increase in resources being dedicated to road resurfacing, including pothole repairs in North East Lincolnshire. And 4, welcomes the review of North East Lincolnshire Council's current policies, procedures and ways of working to increase the rate and effectiveness of pothole repairs. I put forward the notice of motion to Council, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Swinburne. Councillor Jackson, will you second this motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to second the motion and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you, councillor Jackson. Councillor Clough.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And as well as potholes, that was a very extensive weather report from Councillor Swinburne. I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about regular published updates by the council and a plan of delivery so residents can feel assured. However, I think scrutiny is probably the right place for that, so I'd be happy for us to look further for that to go into the mechanism of scrutiny. I feel like this is a pothole motion. I don't feel like it needs political back and forth. It's something that is blighting us across the borough, something that none of us are escaping in our wards, and something I think that we probably all want a faster, more prolonged resolution for. I think collaboration for the benefit of residents is key here. If everyone's pulling in the same direction, I would hope that outcomes would be delivered better and more efficiently. So on that basis, I am happy to support this motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Clough. Any more speakers?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be very brief. I'd just like to offer my appreciation and thanks to all the people that do work out in all elements, whether be it repairing roads or whatever they do, but people who work out in all the elements, I think they do a superb job for us. A lot of people, we work in an office, we're possibly home, we're retired, but we have people who have to get out there and do this work. So my appreciation is to those people. And for anybody who's watching, then I say thank you very much.
Councillor Bright.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, rising to propose this motion, not because I don't want the potholes fixing. Every member in this chamber recognises that our roads are in a terrible state. Our residents aren't just concerned, as point A of the motion suggests. They're paid hundreds of pounds for damaged wheels, tyres, snap springs. I do support the sentiment that we must address this, but I just can't support the self-serving nature of how this motion's been drafted. If we look at the language being used, we aren't seeing a plan of action, but we're just seeing a pre-election sticking plaster. The motion welcomes resources already allocated. It welcomes a review that's already happening, and it acknowledges the weather, as has already been mentioned. The Local Government Association gives some very sound advice on drafting a motion unnoticed, and it suggests it should follow the SMART principle. That means motions should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This is none of those things. How do we measure recognition or acknowledgement? How do we measure a welcome? This isn't a motion, it's a press release. We've just sat through questions on notice, and it's been hijacked as a party political broadcast on behalf of the Conservative Party. Here we have a motion, time for the May elections, and it's designed for an election leaflet headline, nothing else, and to give candidates a good news story on the doorstep, while changing absolutely nothing for the drivers negotiating the craters around Grimsby and Cleethorpes. The residents of this borough don't want to welcome reviews, they want the potholes fixing. So let's stop welcoming the problem and start fixing, delivering the solution.
Thank you, councillor Bright. Councillor Basant.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I welcome the notice of motion, and I can remember going back to the point where we appointed the outsourcing partner, and I can remember the people who won that contract. They said when they left this borough, the roads would be left in a better state than when they came. I think having to bring this notice of motion forward proves that that is not the case. The roads are in a mess. The roads are in a mess. Not just the roads, the footpaths are in a mess. Imagine pushing somebody in a wheelchair around this borough. The footpaths have bigger holes in them than some of the roads. And I'm going to quote two potholes. One on Humberston Road in the East Marsh ward. I reported that. It's a fairly deep pothole. It was fixed within 2 days, it was. And I think there's a little bit of an anomaly here. There is. pothole in the centre of the road generally gets repaired very quickly. Another pothole on Durban Road, near the bus stop on Robert Street corner. I reported that a month or so back. It's still not repaired because it's right on the edge of the road. Won't do no damage to a car, but it could kill a cyclist. I don't very often go down that part of Durban Road. I walk around the ward most days, but I went there yesterday, and after the heavy rain we'd had, it didn't look like there was a pothole there walking up to it. I thought it'd been repaired. Imagine a cyclist cycling down Durban Road, thinking there's no pothole there. We could have had a death on our hands, we could have done, because that hadn't had the same attention to detail as a pothole in the centre of the road. So that's the reason why I'm welcoming this review. And like Councillor Clough, I think the right place to get this moving forward is in scrutiny. And it really needs some serious monitoring that does the progress. We want to be back with our roads in good quality before the outsourced partner took over. We want good quality roads for all of our public. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sen. Any more speakers? Councillor Holland.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is one of those issues that we're seeing national policy, national thinking of government creating huge problems which are then being put across onto local authorities to try and fix. So from 1994 to 2024, number of vehicles on the road increased by 60%. 15 million more vehicles on the road, a lot of them light goods vehicles. And then we wonder why the roads are not coping in terms of volume or in terms of structure. And yes, we have seen some bad weather, but these problems go far deeper than that. There's an 18.6 billion backlog of road repairs across the country, and it's underfunded. And if we go back over that same period of time, 94 to 2024, the population increased by 13 million. Government gave no thought to the impact that would have on the infrastructure and the necessary investment that would be required to make sure that we can cope. And instead, it comes down into local authorities to try and manage the problem. Members may be aware there's a recent court case, St Albans Court, where a resident took the council to court because they weren't fixing the potholes. And we have a statutory duty under the Highways Act to fix the roads. And the council was told you've got to fix it within 20 days. That resident now is preparing a whole dossier of cases to take to his local court, and I suspect that will set a national trend. Now, yes, it is a problem, and I think that a lot of the questions on notice we've had tonight have actually set the context for this motion on notice, and I'm disappointed, frankly, to see that. I really am disappointed because this motion on notice doesn't give the change that a motion on notice should. These shouldn't just be recognised as we acknowledge that. Residents, they don't want empathy. They want a plan. And if this motion on notice tonight had come up with trying to approve a business plan to approve a JCP Pothole Pro that can fix potholes in 8 minutes, 4 times the speed at which conventional repairs can be done, I'd have welcomed it. Yes, that's concrete action. There's something to get our teeth into, something concrete, no pun intended. But this is it's just not a motion on notice that I can support. And it's just together, and particularly with some of the questions on notice, I've not seen that sort of sycophancy. It's a less televised Chinese Communist Party conference. We don't need that. We really don't need that in the chamber. And I don't think residents watching will appreciate it. They see straight through it. They see through it. It just insults people's intelligence. And to be quite honest, I'm surprised there isn't a recommendation E here. This council recommends that Waltham residents vote Conservative on May the 7th. Because it's what it's about, and it's so transparent. And I'm really disappointed with the Conservative group. Yeah, it's better than this. It is far better than this. It doesn't need these sorts of tactics. It needs the old Conservative Party that had deep intelligence, ideas, energy. This isn't needed, and it shouldn't be needed, but it shouldn't be needed in this chamber. So I'm sorry, but I can't support this motion on notice.
Councillor Linley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I think it sounds like the independent group are quite content to see how big the potholes get before they actually take action, because that's the normal stance. I think
Point of personal explanation. I made it clear when I spoke that I supported fixing the roads. So for Councillor Linley to suggest otherwise is not true.
Thank you, Councillor Brown.
sorry, but that was.
And you did.
I think we're all aware of the reasons why these potholes have appeared, and they're everywhere. They are everywhere. And I think the NELC have got a big job on their hands, because clearly they've got to deal with those on primary roads first, and it's no easy task. Well, just to demonstrate how well they're coping, there was in the last couple of weeks there was a sizable pothole on Scartho Road between Matthew Telford Park and the hospital lights. On Monday morning, which is probably one of the busiest times, they actually repaired that in no time at all. And when I was walking up Scartho Road today, I looked at the repair, and it is of a very, very high quality, and I was very impressed, I must say. But I mean, the quality of the repairs is important, and I think Councillor Swinburne mentioned that. And I think it's not just about going along with some gravel and filling a hole and hoping for the best. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it properly. And I think what we need to do, we need to get this at scrutiny and sit down and have a good adult discussion about this, instead of maybe sitting on the fence and maybe doing some political point scoring. But I think in terms of the motion, I think it's great, and I think it demonstrates that we are proactive in trying to deal with a very sizable issue, and this issue has probably been the worst this year than it has been for many years, and it's just really, really disappointing that councillors Bright and Holland are opposing a motion which is there to enhance the repair of potholes, and I think they should be ashamed of themselves for opposing that. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'd just like to make a further personal explanation. That motion doesn't actually do anything, and that was the point we were making. We're fully behind repairing the roads, but the motion doesn't do that.
Councillor Augusta.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I'm rising to support this notice of motion, mainly because I think, as a fairly new driver, I think I've made the mistake that Councillor Linley took the poll I was going to stand up and talk about out my mouth. The amount of times I've managed to hit that, and every time I go, you know it's there, Robson, and I just keep hitting it over and over again. Another one of my residents went to TikTok to record a video complaining about the state of the roads outside her house, and I know that is being reported again by the ward councillors in Park. So I think it's very clear that our residents are asking for us to do to make. I have some sympathy to the argument the independents are making about we could have had this being a bit stronger, but this is the motion we've got. We've got no amendments, and I think let's support it. Let's see where we go. I know we've got review. I know the Assistant Director for Highways is keen to make sure that this comes to Tish next municipal year, and I really just want to say I think we all just want to see a solution on. I think it could have been stronger, yes, but I think the political wills here in this chamber, I know the officer will is also there. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Morland.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise because tonight, if this had been GB News, we'd have reported this farrago by the Conservatives tonight, asking their own portfolio holders questions. It would have been reported for political bias and a political broadcast.
Can you
I will go back to the motion, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. So we're talking about the repair of the footpaths. Yes, they do need repairing, and it's good that we're having this motion tonight for that. However, it is laden a bit with problems because where I live, from the corner of Car Lane through to Young Place, if you go and have a look at the footpaths, there are always at all angles. My residents have given up reporting them because they say they're not done in time. The council workers are not at fault. They are given a job to do. So they will repair 2 paving stones. And next to that, only a couple of yards away, there are some with the half-inch that you're not supposed to have on the pavement. They are not repaired. I've asked them, I'm always polite to them, and they say to me, Councillor Morland, we haven't got a job number for that, and we're not allowed to work outside of our leap, flit and slip. Well, I'm asking that we actually do have a bit more flexibility in terms of the orders that are given out. And if workers do see that there are other flagstones and or other potholes within the vicinity of those reported, that they should be given the remit to complete them, so that we don't have this farrago that we get one pothole replaced, filled in on X corner, and over the road, which is 20 yards away, you've got to put in another sheet and slip for it. It just seems ridiculous. Why don't we have a area that the staff work in and clear that in, instead of this one hole by one hole? Why don't we have areas that we work in? It could be East Marsh, it could be Croftbaker, it could be Waltham. Madam Mayor, I don't have a problem with any of that, and I am all for the roads being made serviceable for all. I'm not going to get into any further politics other than to say that, yes, I want the potholes replacing. Is this motion sufficient? I'm not sure. What about the SMART that we should have? Significant, merited, articulated, etc. And that we actually get some outcomes. I never heard that in the motion tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much.
Councillor Mickleborough.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is a motion we can all get behind, because it's not something that's party political. And as my last full council meeting, I think it's good that we can be united as a council behind something like this. And I hope that, yes, the place for it to go into detail is scrutiny. I'm not on that relevant appropriate panel. I hope that they take it back seriously, and there's an ongoing report. So the figures that were given tonight by Councillor Swinburne, we keep hearing things like that, so it doesn't get forgotten. But I'd like to add to the point that Councillor Holland said, that yes, things have been made worse by this winter, the level of rain, but 2 other factors are important. The first is the continued increase in the number of vehicles on our roads, and secondly is in the increase in the size and weight of the vehicles on our road. And I think sometimes we're going to have to look at alternatives to the private motor car, the lorry, and not be in hock to the motorist lobby. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Freeston.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and very wise and good words from Councillor Morland. You're at risk of being invited to join the Reform Party, because that is the exact sort of message that we need to be putting out. It makes sense, and residents tell me, I see it for myself, why are you repairing one pothole but can't do the next? I assume it could be because back in the day there was rumours that people might go out and then they try and do, barrow jobs. Whether that's the case or not, but certainly with, new technology, you can take a photograph and prove that the hole is actually there and does need to be filled. What I would say is I agree completely with Councillor Holland. It is disappointing that the Conservative group have decided to do it in this manner. I've been equally critical of the Labour group over the years. They used to be formidable at it and bringing questions to full council, asking their own people, marking their own homework. It was boring, but in credit to Councillor Clough, she's turned her ship around, and they're actually decent, hard-working people now. And even Councillor Wilson and Councillor Patrick, I congratulated you guys for actually being decent in the council chamber. So this isn't about attacking parties, but it is boring. Like, come on, guys, listening to yourself, asking questions. Councillor Swinburne, you're the portfolio.
Councillor Freestone, can we keep to the motion, please?
Yeah, sorry, Madam Mayor. You're the portfolio holder, Councillor Swinburne, for highways. The motion that you brought before us isn't telling us that you've actually done anything with the potholes. It's just that we need to do something. Yes, we all know we need to do something. We all have eyes. What I would like to see is actually you come forward with a solution, something innovative, as Councillor Holland said about the Pothole Pro, that we could all get behind and say, you know what, fair play to the Conservatives, you've got a hold of it, you're going to do something, and actually it's not something we'll be able to campaign on. But as it goes, we will be campaigning. I'm sure we'll be eating into your votes, yeah. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll try not to be indecent. The camera, with the cameras here, especially. Everyone's talked about the question, so I'm going to talk about that first. I found it very positive. I've heard a few voices saying it for a very long time in this chamber, so it was pleased to. Now I'd recognise them voices for the future, or maybe not come the election. But there you go. Regarding the notice of motion, Madam Mayor, it does state a few things, and I just want to point out a couple of things within there. Councillor Bazant talked about cyclists, and I just want to touch on that. A pothole that may damage a spring in a car or cause a puncture, you know, everyone's concerned about that. But potholes that are different, that are not recognised really by the highways engineers, cause serious issues to councillors. Councillors, only because I'm a rider and Councillor Bazant's a rider. So anyone on the cyclist, so apologies for that mistake. And those potholes that you don't realise, particularly where there's utility works and you get a long crack, your tyre goes in it and you can go straight off and they wouldn't repair them, for example. There's potholes that do, I mean, if you were to even a medium-sized pothole on a cycle, you can be in serious trouble. I had a wheel collapse in Parkwood, actually. I hit a big pothole and the back wheel collapsed. You know, I had to get a new wheel, 100 quid. And they're the sort of things, if you're further out of town, you know, you've got to walk home, it's a long way. And it's surprising how long it takes, but that's beside the point. Talking about the weather, I was pleased with the weather report, the summary of the weather report. But I've had a process in West Marsh for a number of years now where I inspect all the streets every year, personally. And so I've got anecdotal evidence of what happens with potholes. And every year potholes appear and every year we get repaired. And during the summer, I can confidently say there's usually no potholes by the time they get repaired. There's no potholes in West Marsh that are significant that warrant repairs. There's always blemishes in the road that they won't repair. This year, I've seen an increase, which has been stated, but it's not just an increase. The severity of the potholes is larger as well. And so we do need, in this review that we're welcoming, we do need a radical solution to being more efficient at repairing potholes. And I welcome that if that goes to scrutiny. You know, anyone that knows me, I'll put my own ideas forward for that. And I'll do some research on it and try to influence what we do in the future. So there's two commitments I would like is what in the review, I hope cycling's been taken into account, and B, we can look at radical different ways of doing it. We've had a party political broadcast tonight, and so I think I'll take part in that a little bit. You know, why wouldn't I?
Keep to the motion, Councillor Wilson, please.
Sorry.
1 minute.
Yeah, I will keep to the motion. It's all about the motion. We know that this council's had, I think, now 4 million towards pothole repairs, and it's sort of mentioned in the motion, Madam Mayor. And I would like to see how the administration is going to use that money and, to tackle the issues that's been highlighted tonight, with the weather and so forth and so forth. So it would have been very nice if in the presentation of this motion that might have been addressed, how that extra money could have been, how it's going to be used, and etc. etc. And I hope in the summing up that that's addressed as well, Madam Mayor. I think that's 1 minute. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Wheatley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Swinburne, for the comprehensive weather summary and the data regarding pothole repairs. However, in my opinion, the residents of North East Lincolnshire actually know how wet and cold it's been because we live here. What? Bless you. You're welcome. What our residents actually want to know is why we as councillors and they as residents told that it's going to take up to 6 weeks to fix a pothole. Why the roads are in such a shocking state and what their council are going to do about it. And it's been mentioned earlier about damage to vehicles, and it's becoming a real regular occurrence, which is not great for our hard-pushed and hard-working residents. I am concerned when Councillor Swinburne's talked about duplication of work needing to be reviewed. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't need reviewing at all. It needs stopping. If we're not doing it right the first time, we damn well should be. It's public money, and it shouldn't be being wasted in doing it twice. I do welcome the acknowledgement of extra funding, but it must be utilised fully to get the best outcomes for our borough and our residents. I agree that it does need to go to scrutiny to have a look at, but please don't let it get bogged down. And I would expect a comprehensive report with tangible outcomes that are achievable, affordable, cost effective, and I expect that to come pretty damn quick. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wheatley. Councillor Crofts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I'm surprised. It's super to hear everybody quite positive on something. Smart goals, specific. The review, do I want 40 mil, 300 mil wide ones done, or do I want 50 or 25? The whole idea of a review is to decide whether I want that. Measurable, do I want 10 or do I want 100? Unless you've got that data, you can't actually do it. The scrutiny team, and these two councillors know this, set those examples with the information. They get data and then they set achievable goals, realistic goals, timely goals. That's what SMART is. And until you get the data, then the scrutiny panel can actually decide what we're going to improve and what policy. The best part of this notice is D, change the policy. If we're going to do it smarter and quicker, let's do it. Let's get the machines, let's spend some money. Unfortunately, I don't know whether we're going to get that lovely JCB that cuts a square and fills it in 8 minutes, but that's the way forward. And I do think some of the councillors in here are missing the point. If we can change it and improve it, let's do it. Why not just all agree for a change? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cross. Councillor Patrick.
Thank you indeed, Madam Mayor, and I'd just like to congratulate Councillor Freeson on coming of age in politics. He's finally achieved the status of becoming his own spitting image puppet. That's quite an achievement. Madam Mayor, I'm rising to support this motion, not least because I think it actually chimes with residents. I think they see a lot of their issues within this. There are very few issues that this service that this council actually delivers that really echoes across all walks of life. Those issues being council tax, clean streets, bin collections, and of course the state of the highway. And is this a flawed motion? Well, yes, I think there are perhaps some flaws about it. As has been highlighted, it's effectively the portfolio holder more or less asking himself to do something. And I remember when, as a portfolio, I did the very same thing in this chamber some years ago, and I was actually in Councillor Swinburne's portfolio. I took a bit of criticism for that from the Conservatives, but I wasn't bothered about that then. I'm not. I can't say I'm particularly bothered about this now. And this motion doesn't have any particular clear outcomes, because any good motion is structured essentially in three parts: that this council notes, this council believes, this council resolves. And there aren't actually any real resolutions within this motion. So in that regard, it's a bit flawed, and it's perhaps not a motion I would have submitted in its current form. But what I think it actually achieves is that it just shows that we do recognise these issues. We're sending a message to the public that we do take matters seriously, that fundamentally matter to them. And it would have been nice to have a bit of a 5-year plan on this, something we'd actually work towards. But I don't think that's always necessary in this chamber, because obviously we're not the managers, we're not the officers of this council. We're leaders of place and we're representatives, and sometimes just showing to residents that we hear their issues and we're going to act on those and watch this space. Sometimes that's just enough, Madam Mayor, and tonight I think it's just enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Councillor Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. It's not often I rise to agree with Councillor Patrick, but on this occasion I'm going to do that, because I think he's summarised very well why we need this motion and the benefits of this motion, because I think that there is a feeling out there in the community that we don't care about the highways, we don't care about potholes, we're not doing anything about them. You know, we get this all the time, and I think what this motion does, it makes it very clear that it is high on the council's agenda, that we do understand that people are concerned about potholes, not just potholes, of course, all sorts of other things, but we're focusing on potholes tonight. It does emphasise the fact that this is a national issue, and I think perhaps a lot of local residents maybe who for whatever reason don't travel outside the borough very much, maybe just think it's a problem within North East Lincolnshire. But I mean, I travel quite a bit. I talk to other people who travel to other parts of the country. Their pothole situation is as bad, if not worse, than ours. So it's not unique to North East Lincolnshire. And I think just raising that profile of the problem and making it clear that we aren't just making excuses locally for potholes, it's something that all councils are grappling with up and down the country, is helpful. And what I'd also do, it also raises the profile, and I would encourage residents to make sure that they report potholes as well. You know, they may not think it's worthwhile doing it because they don't get repaired the next day, but of course they do go on a priority list, as Councillor Swinburne's portfolio holders pointed out. But we do need the public to report them, because what I've noticed is that once a pothole gets established, if it's on a busy road, it gets worse very, very quickly. So the sooner we can get to know that it's there and get a team out to have a look at it, if it's serious, the sooner we'll get it repaired and sorted out without it deteriorating further. I do also agree with Councillor Morland and Councillor Wheatley as well tonight about, and Councillor Swinburne, he mentioned it about duplication. We do need to try and make sure we review how we deal with potholes to ensure that we aren't duplicating the work. I mean, I do know that with the largest, deepest potholes, we do have to go out and do an emergency repair, which I believe is called a pancake repair. And that is just literally putting a pancake of asphalt into the hole as a temporary repair, because it has to be done quickly because it's a very serious pothole. And then you do have to go back and do a proper repair, which takes much longer in due course. If we could find a way of reducing that type of duplication, that would be helpful. And also, if we could take a whole string of potholes together over a distance of 20, 30, 40 yards and do them all at the same time, that would be really helpful as well. And I think that's where the additional LTP funding that we've got this year, which I think is about £6 million, but Councillor Swinburne will probably have the figure, which is for resurfacing of highways as opposed to dealing with potholes. But if we get a particularly bad area stretch of highway, we can resurface the whole of that highway and take out quite a substantial number of potholes at the same time. So I think that additional local transport plan funding for road surfacing will help to address the problem. But of course, those type of major repairs do take a certain amount of time to plan and execute. I've heard several people tonight talk about this JCB Pothole Pro machine, which I know JCB have been pushing quite extensively. I remember at the LJ conference a couple of years ago, I went to a fringe meeting where they were talking about it. It seemed to be the best thing since sliced bread. However, I understand from a number of local authorities that it's not.
1 minute, Councillor
Thank
Jackson.
you. I understand from a number of local authorities that it's not actually maybe quite as advantageous as JCB might be making out. I hope they're not listening tonight and going to sue me for the comments I'm making, but I'm just saying things I've picked up from other local authorities. I believe they have one on trial in North Lincolnshire, or a similar machine in North Lincolnshire, and my understanding is it does have some advantages, but it's perhaps not quite as good as they might have hoped it would be. But maybe that's something we could look. Maybe we could look at sharing that with North Lincolnshire if it might be able to help us deal with our potholes. So I do welcome this motion. Obviously, I've seconded it, but I do think it certainly helps to raise in the public's mind what the issues are and the fact that we are doing something about it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Shreve.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, Madam Mayor, are you with me? I had not intended to speak on this debate, but when the independent councillors addressed us from the ramparts of their fortress of moral fortitude, I thought I ought to say something, and maybe just a bit about context, which Leader has already alluded to. When this date was set for this particular council meeting, we talked amongst ourselves about those issues that could be discussed and are relevant to our residents. And potholes is a really, really hot issue at the moment. So that's the thinking as to why this motion was put forward, and also why I think we're getting support from the Labour benches. I would also, excuse me, I lost my thread for a second there. I would also suggest that most of the interventions in this debate tonight absolutely demonstrate that this is a motion that should have been brought and has been brought, because everybody's talked about potholes in their ward, everybody's come up with some constructive suggestions, and apart from our friends up there on the ramparts, this has been a really good debate. So I'll stop there, especially as my guest for the ending of the council is about 5 minutes away.
Councillor Farron.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be really, really brief. I just wanted to, just one concern with the debate tonight. I've just felt that pushing it over to scrutiny, yeah, really great idea, so you can get the devil in the detail. However, I think residents would really want to know now what your short-term plan is and how deliverable that is and when it's going to be delivered and what that cost is going to be, and then go to scrutiny and you know, discuss the rest of it and plan the rest of it, because I think anybody listening to this today is going to say absolutely brilliant, so pleased you're talking about potholes, really pleased to hear about the weather and who agrees with who, but what's going to happen tomorrow? That's what I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Farron. Councillor Shutt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's a very good point that Councillor Farron's made. I was going to make it myself. Scrutiny is great. We're all on scrutiny. It works very well if you work it hard. But there's a time frame here. People want answers now. So I'll just leave that there. Thank you very much. A couple of other points, and an important one. This could be my last full council. So I don't intend to upset any of you, if you're reassured. A couple of points that I picked up on the debate with Councillor Besant and Wilson about cyclists. When you report potholes on the portal, the members portal, you get asked a question with a yes and no answer. Do you feel this is a threat to life? I've only ever done that once, and that pothole was done in 2 days. I don't know under the current situation would that be the same, but I'd reassure Councillor Besant to look at that one he reported and to do it again if he didn't do that first time round.
A couple of other things as well. There's been some discussion. I don't want to get in too much about it, about questions earlier on. It was so good to see you standing up and asking questions. Yeah, great to see. But I felt Councillor Shepherd was a bit.
Motion, councillor Shook.
Councillor Shepherd,
Motion.
Madam Mayor, I'm going to get back to that very quickly. Councillor Shepherd looked a bit tired, so I'm glad you didn't go on for much longer. I do support the notice of motion. I've got to be honest with you, I do understand the concerns that have been raised. I, for one, as you know, is a notice of motion criticiser or supporter from what's in it. Sometimes notice of motions just ask for too much. And I think this one perhaps doesn't ask enough. But that's been covered already. I won't go into the details. I do thank Councillor Jackson for his comments, because a lot of those comments would have liked to have perhaps seen in the notice of motion, or Councillor Swinburne, not being critical of Councillor Swinburne. Of course, I would never do that. Could have been in there earlier on. That may have taken away a few of the concerns that people have raised. It's always difficult when you do a notice of motion because you're trying to make an impact. You're not trying to overdo it. You're not trying to underdo it. But I think the feeling that hopefully members get and the leading administration get is that Councillor Fallon's point is an important one. Please do something on comms, do something that's out there for the people to read that you're doing something now. What's your plan now? And then people have more confidence in what you're doing in the long term, if that makes sense. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, councillor Shook. Councillor Emerson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll keep this brief, as most aspects I wanted to speak about have been covered by other councillors. I do welcome this motion, but I do find it quite weak and vague. It's all about data and statistics, and a lot about the weather. It does speak a lot of opinions rather than actions. What I want to know, residents of this borough want to know, what it's been doing now and in the future, including funding from all the third parties which are and will be involved. So I've seen some potholes and full streets have been done in my own ward, including Oxford Street, but it's been shoddy work, big projects and full streets, and it's having to get redone again. It's absolutely horrific, and I've had complaints from residents, damages to cars, etc. And also potholes what I have reported myself, they don't qualify to be repaired. They're not big enough, they're not deep enough, they're not a threat to vehicles. I name one big example on Dearborn Road. Residents tell me that their houses actually shake from the buses going past. But time and time again, we get told that they're not deep enough. They're not a priority. So I want this shoddy work fixing, Madam Mayor. And I just want to say, what confidence do I have as a driver? And what confidence do I tell my East Marsh residents and residents across the borough? Because I get asked this from residents all over the borough. So I think, yeah, we need to get something done, but not with these fluffy, empathetic wording, without firm action and sentiments with real meat on the bones. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Emerson. Councillor Mill.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I will be brief. I was looking into this and I was surprised to find out that we have a UK government pothole repair rating system. It's amazing what you find when you start looking and Googling. North East Lincolnshire is overall rated amber. So whilst residents, I believe, will welcome the motion, as I do, I believe all members of this chamber welcome potholes being repaired, I do think that there's obviously some room for improvement if we're only rated as amber. So I'd like to hope that we'll see that rating improve in future years under whatever administration we have. And I would just like to point out, Council Leader did point out that there's some potential for full road resurfacing. I would shamelessly like to just point out Winchester Avenue and Sutcliffe Avenue are like a Swiss cheese. They've got holes everywhere. Please consider them. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Mill. Is there any more speakers? Councillor Swinburne, you have a right to reply.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Would you like to suspend standing orders now so I can reply to every one of those? I'd appreciate it if I can, but I'll try and get through them as I can, Madam Mayor. But As you understand, there's quite a lot there. I appreciate what a lot of the councillors have said tonight in support of this notice of motion. But I do believe that, you know, I've mentioned quite a few times and through my speech early on about the duplication. And I think it is a big concern of mine. And I do regularly challenge officers on a daily basis about the way that we're operating. I drive around this borough, I walk around the borough, I look at the various concerns that people have got with the road surfaces and potholes. And I'm appalled at times that these have been repaired in such the state they have, or they've been missed. And for God's sake, forgive me, Madam Mayor, I can't understand why we can send highway repair people into a street to repair 3 potholes on the left-hand side, but they won't do 2 on the right-hand side. And it's ridiculous. And that's what I call duplication and a waste of council funding. Madam Mayor, we talked, Councillor Besant was on about footpaths, but unfortunately tonight we're talking about potholes. Footpaths are a big concern, but we do have another policy, and that's why I want to look at all the policies within the highway network. At the moment, footpaths are only repaired, a complete footpath is repaired, dug out repaired in 14 years. Councillor Patrick knows what the policy was then for the footway repairs. We do have an annual footpath slurrying regime, but we do that all over the borough. That doesn't improve things only for a matter of months. Councillor Holland there said about the national policy. We have been working to national policy, Madam Mayor, and that's why I want to change the policy that we use. And also, when we talk about the national policies and the guidance, and it's not good enough. And I want to see our own change now to make sure that we're operating in a better offering. The business plan that I announced, Madam Mayor, in the budget meeting of the extra £7 million that's coming in for not just highways, but also major projects as well. And £3 million of that, actually, some people have got the figure wrong there, but I did mention at the budget meeting, £3 million is going to be for resurfacing and pothole repairs. That's quite a hefty amount of money, and I'm sure we can get through a lot of the potholes that we've got mentioned tonight. Councillor Freeston mentioned about the challenges. I understand, Madam Mayor, but the challenge, I can't just click my finger and say to officers, you will go there tomorrow, you will do that, you will do this, you do the other. That's not the way it operates. And I can only go by the guidance that I'm related to by officers. They're the professional people. They're telling me if it's a pothole or it's not a pothole. And so I have to rely on their information, but believe me, I challenge on a daily basis with the officers within my portfolio, and they know it as well. The duplication side, I think we've mentioned it quite a lot there. And Councillor Wheatley actually mentioned there about the 6 weeks duration. But Madam Mayor, that's got a lot to do with the knowledge of the public. And that's where it comes into the policies. The public don't understand what a pothole is. If it's a pothole or it's not a pothole. If it's 40 millimetre deep or it's not. Is it wide enough? But when you see a hole in the road, and I've got many and many photographs of various holes that people think are potholes, but they're not. But, you know, as the leader would mention there, if it's a dangerous one, we will go out there within 24 hours and repair that hole, even if it's only temporary until a major one is done.
Councillor Swinburne,
Sorry, Madam Mayor?
1 minute,
Are you sure? Oh, okay.
certainly.
Yeah, well, thanks, Madam Mayor, but we are doing what we can with this. But Councillor Schutt says about, and I think other members have mentioned about how we inform the members of the public in what's going on. I have recommended to officers, and we are looking at it now, I think it's important that we do more comms on the way that we are repairing reports or receiving reports. And I've asked for a weekly comms report to go out to let members of the public know what's going on, how many we've had reported, how many we've repaired, how many are due for repair. And I think that's important that we actually communicate better with the members of the public when we're looking at that sort of thing, Madam Mayor. So of all these things, I think the majority of people are concerned about the duplication, and I am working tirelessly daily, Madam Mayor, to try and address that issue. And I will do everything I can to make sure that we get this. I'm a regular road user as well, Madam Mayor, and that's where I see the problems as well.
Councillor Swinburne. In accordance with the Constitution, I will now take a recorded vote on the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All those voting in favour say for, all those voting against say against, any abstentions say abstain. Councillor Augusta.
For.
Councillor Bissant.
For.
Councillor Bonner.
For.
Councillor Bright.
Against.
Councillor Cairns.
For.
Councillor Clough.
For.
Councillor Cracknell.
For.
Councillor Crofts.
For.
Councillor Dawkins.
For.
Councillor Downs.
Against.
Councillor Emerson.
For.
Councillor Farron.
For.
Councillor Freeston.
For.
Councillor Goodwin.
For.
Councillor Harness.
For.
Councillor Hastorp.
For.
Councillor Holland.
Abstain.
Councillor Hudson.
For.
Councillor Jackson.
For.
Councillor Lindley.
For.
Councillor Mickleborough. Councillor Mill.
For.
Councillor Morland.
For.
Councillor Parkinson.
For.
Councillor Patrick.
For.
Councillor Pettigrew.
For.
Councillor Shepherd.
For.
Councillor Shreve.
For.
Councillor Shutt.
For.
Councillor Sylvester.
For.
Councillor Swinburne K.
For.
Councillor Swinburne S.
For.
Councillor Wheatley.
For.
Councillor Wilson.
For.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The results of the recorded vote: for 31, against 2 and 1 abstention. The motion is carried, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Item 15, urgent business. There is no urgent business for consideration at this meeting. Thank you all for your attendance, and I now declare this meeting closed.